Uh, this is, of course, Durance. How many of you guys have played Durance before? Anybody?
Once.
Once. Okay. I've played it once. We played with the classic framework. It is very much in the line of Jason Morningstar's Fiasco. It has a little bit, maybe, feel of drama system. It's very much a narrative game. There is kind of a mechanic for resolution of conflicts. It's more of a kind of going, okay, well, let's look at the tipping point and see what factors are on the table. This is a little bit of a kind of a test of how this hack structure works for the Durance system, because there's some premises to original Durance that had to be changed to kind of do the classic sort of 1980s super being detention camp. So the basic premise that we've got here is a world where there are mutants, and mutants have physical marks, sometimes deformities, sometimes appearance, auras, something like that. They also have powers associated with that. There are also super beings, and they don't have these marks, and that's kind of created a two-tier system for how people regard them. But in recent years, in this setting, in the 80s, people have passed laws essentially to put mutants into detainment centers. In some cases, the logic of it is to protect them. In some cases, it's to protect the populace. There are varying differing setups for that, and in part, what we're going to be doing when we define the camp itself is defining some of that logic for how the camp operates, whether it's more okay, we're putting people here to protect them and create a separate society, or whether we're creating something that is intended to keep them and punish them for their existence. What we'll do is we'll go through, we'll make some picks that will define the setting, and then we will go through and define a drive for the camp. And then everybody is going to make up two characters, very basic stuff. There's a ladder on the authority side and the inmate side, and there are different tiers on that. We'll get to pick two characters. For character making, all you're going to need to do is come up with a concept and a name, and then after everybody has done that, then we'll kind of make up an oath for each of your characters, which defines something that they will never do, and that the rest of the game will be intending to try and make them do, so that they fall out of the game. So character creation is very simple. Then we'll go through, and basically the game operates that on a turn, one player is the guide. The guide sets a question that needs to be answered, and the other players who are not the guide will kind of say, well, I'll put my character into this scene, or connect up, or discuss that, and then they play out the scene. The guide kind of says when the scene has kind of come to a resolution, or says when there's no resolution, then it moves to a mechanic to kind of check that. And then once that scene's over, then we move to the next person who becomes the guide. Usually the guide kind of sits out of those scenes. And we'll play that around. So it's pretty simple. And I've got Roll20. If you guys want to pull up that app, I don't know if you have already. Mostly because I was able to kind of put the pretty pictures in there more easily, more than any dice roller mechanic thing. So I hope you guys can get into that from where you're at. All right. So what I'm going to do is just to tell you how when I'm seeing you guys, what my order is. My order is Chris, Rich, Sean, and then William, and then myself. And just to give you a heads up, and I'll try to call it out when I do that, just to tell you what order our people are going to actually go in. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pick positives for our camp. And as you go up here, you can see the facility locations. And there are 5 aspects that are possible to the facility's location there. And those are connection, meaning that the camp has, if it's a positive, it has tight connections to the outside. There's communications. People go back and forth. Personnel can transfer. It's probably closer to actual populated outside centers, that kind of thing. The next one is climate, which is sort of atmosphere. A mild atmosphere means that you're not in a harsh environment like ice or vacuum or desert or anything like that. It's a pleasant place. It's easy to survive there. The next one is benign biology. That means, are there vermin? Are there diseases? Are there hostile things in the environment? Then there's stable systems, whether the camp that you're in actually can maintain itself, or whether it's breaking down, or whether there's a dangerous system collapse imminent. And lastly, production, meaning how much resources does the camp have? Does it produce for itself? Is it able to survive on its own, self-sustaining? So there are 5 awesome things. We only get 2 of those as positives. The rest are going to be negatives. So how this is going to work is Chris is going to pick 1 as a positive, and then Rich is going to pick 1 as a positive. And that will define the facility location. So Chris, what do you want as a positive?
The climate.
Okay, so we've got the mild climate there, and so I'm just going to kind of circle that up. And if we're following the Durance method, I would actually also now allow you to pick, is there one that you want as a negative?
What's the connected to outside exactly again?
Connected to the outside means how much isolation. If you're connected, then you may be near a populated zone, or the staff members can travel back and forth. It's not far away from other people. There's interactions and so on.
That's when it's a positive.
Then when it's a positive, yeah, it's close by people, and there's communication and connection.
Okay, let's make that a negative then.
Okay, so I'm going to put a line through that. So, Rich, of the 3 that are remaining, what do you want as the other positive?
Stable systems.
Stable systems. All right. So we have mild climate and stable systems, and that gives us. Go over to my little sheet here. Mild atmosphere, stable systems. That is the island. Okay, so I'm going to select that, copy, and I'm going to bring that over onto the start page. And I'm going to drop that down at the bottom just for my reference. So to read you that, it is the island, and it is mild atmosphere, stable system is disconnected. There's hostile biology, and it's unproductive. The color text is you'd expect more storms here, maybe typhoons, but no. The island's a paradise in that regard. Perhaps that's why the flora and fauna is so dangerous. Poisonous snakes, inflaming insects, schools of sharks patrolling the waters outside. Some xenobeast experiments got into the local ecosystem as well, creating even more havoc. Inside the camp's fortifications we survived, but that leaves us little space to provide beyond the basics. So they have put this internment camp on an island somewhere with a relatively benign climate. All right. So then we're going to come to Sean, and we're going to look at the camp structures itself. And there are 5 traits, and the structures are about planning, refers to the intelligent arrangement of dwellings. Was a camp built to order or just kind of dropped there? Density, how populated it is it overflowing for its capacity, or is it low density, meaning that it has plenty of space? Treatment, refers to general amenities. Is there good access to decent food and water, supplies and goods? What's the upkeep like on that? You know, positive or negative on that. Maintenance of order refers to the compliance and docility of the camp population. If order is maintained, then things are pretty stable between the two sides. If there's disorder, then gangs are allowed to run free, and the administration turns a blind eye to that kind of thing. And finally, justice refers to the administration and how they enforce things. If justice is maintained, then there's an even hand, and prisoners are treated relatively decently. So, Sean, what is your pick for a positive?
For positive, I'd like to see it as a well-planned camp.
Okay. And your negative?
Let's go with poor treatment.
Okay. All right, so let me cross out decent treatment. All right. And William, what's your pick for the other positive on this?
Let me go with order maintained.
Order maintained. Okay. All right. So that is Camp Ditko. So the briefing on that is they call it the panopticon, a theory of constant observation and enforcement. There's no privacy, no place to hide here. Everyone has a place they need to be at a regulated time. Any deviation results in a reduction of supplies. Everyone must match their quota or suffer penalties. It keeps the infighting and the criminal element down, as they're in as desperate straits as anyone else. So there's our Randian location that we're in. Grab that here, copy that, and I'll drop that back in here. Copy these other things over. Okay, so now we've got those two elements of the camp. We're on an island, and it's very, very tightly controlled. So one of the things that's going to happen during the game is that when there's decisions to be made, problems, we're going to be checking on this chart over here about the drives. And so you've got servility, savagery, and then a unique drive to our particular camp. In this case, let's say that servility was the dominant moment for a particular resolution. In that case, then you would try to define how the scene rolls out based on somebody being servile. Or if savagery was dominant at that point, you'd try to resolve the scene based on savagery. And then, if it resolves around the particular drive, there's a unique drive to our setting. So I've got a list of sort of general drives here, the what drives us, 6 points. And by process of elimination, we're going to pick the one that'll be our additional unique drive for this game setup. So going back to Chris, you see I've got there control, memory, safety, harmony, punishment, or progress. And this is very abstract. It's just about the kind of tone that would be present or not present in a scene. So is there one of those that you want to knock off the list?
Which ones are these?
The under what drives us?
Drives.
So is there anything that you see wouldn't fit with this particular setting that you don't think is important right now?
Harmony.
Okay, so we'll cross out harmony. And then Rich, you get to cross one out.
Progress.
Progress, okay. And then Sean, what do you want to knock out?
Let's knock out control.
Oh, interesting. And then William, what do you want to knock out?
Why should things be safe?
Okay. Oh, memory or punishment. Memory is so odd in this compared to the other things. I'm actually going to put that in as that. So I'm going to type that in under the drive.
So you knocked out punishment, I guess?
Yep.
We're already in pretty much a gulag. May as well knock out punishment. It's already kind of the baseline, right?
Absolutely. And memory will create more interesting weirdnesses for what plays out. So, and I'm going to type in up here under text. Go. Okay. All right. So we've got that set. The details on Ditko and the island are on the webpage that I sent you the link to, but we've generally got that in our head about how it is an island place, isolated, and with a good deal of control going on there. Nasty flora and fauna on the outside. I'm going to switch pages now, and we're going to move to the chain, sort of the level of the notables, and we're going to work through and pick out our characters here. So, switch you over to that page. So there are, if you've had a chance to look at the webpage, there are two sides: the warden, essentially the authority, and then the inmates, and there's a chain of hierarchy from sort of top to bottom, different roles. And there are 5 of those, and in a couple of them, like the executives and the minions, there are a couple of different choices in there. What we're going to do is we will go through in that same order, and you'll pick a role on one of the sides, and you'll sort of type in your name for that character, and it'll go around, and then you'll pick one from the other side. The other restriction is, for example, let's say that somebody picks the minion level on the inmate side. That means that they can't pick the executive level on the other side. And this is mutually exclusive, so if someone takes the warden, somebody else can't take the warden. So each of these levels will be occupied over the course of this time. Do you guys want me to run through what these sort of mean?
Sure, please. Even just one sentence for each, sure.
Okay. So the warden is the person's in charge. They can be more benign or less benign. They probably are the person who defines why Camp Ditko is the way it is. The executive represents the people below them. That can be the captain of the guard, the person who's in charge of security. It can be an auditor who's keeping track of, supplies and things, or it can be the chief scientist who's conducting research experiments on people. The staff is, again, a number of different possible roles. You could be janitorial, you could be assistant scientist, you could be IT techs, you could be plumbers. You're kind of the heart and soul of keeping this place running. It could also be spouses of that support staff there as well. The next level, of course, is guards on the authority side. They might be individual, or if you decide that there's robotic defenses, we can have them pilots of mecha suits or whatever. And finally, the trustees. The trustees are either people who are interned who've shown their stability and have been brought over to the administrative side. It might be people who've been depowered or burned out as mutants. It might be people with incidental powers. It might also be spouses of inmates who voluntarily come here. That's also a possibility. On the inmate side, we have the mastermind. There will always be a essentially criminal network operating, even with the control, in these facilities. And the mastermind is the person who is behind that. They are the criminal who keeps control of things, and everybody there on the inmate side has to bow to their authority, and even the warden has to take their desires into consideration. So there's a tight balance there on the two sides of authority. Below the mastermind are the minions, and we've got two kinds of minions. You can either be a minion who's an enforcer. They're the person who carries out the mastermind's punishments. Or the number two is the person who is making the deals, arranging illicit contraband, getting, you know, those kinds of things put together. Bolters are an oddball. They fit right in the middle of the hierarchy. Bolters are people who have managed to get out of the facility. A bolter might be a folk hero that they've escaped out in the walls and they're managing to survive on the island despite the flora and fauna. Or they might have found a way to hide inside the facility. Bolters represent a threat to both the warden and to the mastermind in some ways because they overturn the authority. A bolter also might be just plain crazy. When I played Durance, my bolter was not a folk hero, but was just kind of nuts. Convicts are people who are here, put into this facility because they were essentially taken from superpowered prisons. They're not here just because they're mutants. They're here because they were criminals and mutants, and were essentially dumped here. So they're a more dangerous class of people. Maybe they're trying to get better, or maybe they're trying very easily to get worse. And finally, the masses are the general bulk of the population. It can include non-criminal mutants. It can include non-mutants who are simply political sympathizers. It can include anybody else who got caught up in the dragnet and thrown here. So that is the general scheme of the people there. So, Chris, I'm again going to start with you. And let me ask you what tier you would like and which side.
Executives.
Okay. Do you have a name?
Oh God. Vaughn.
Vaughn. Okay. So do you see where the text tool is on the thing? It should be. It's under the
Paintbrush.
The eye. Yeah. Or I can type it.
Paintbrush.
Or
Oh, okay. I got it.
okay. And for Vaughn, are you imagining what kind of role do you imagine for Vaughn of the executive? Captain of the guard, auditor, scientist, something else?
Captain.
Okay. Captain Vaughn. All right. So we got that on that side. We'll come back to Captain Vaughn after a bit. So, Rich, what's your pick?
I think I would like to play a guard.
Okay.
And his name is Chris Sienkiewicz.
Okay. Awesome.
And you mentioned the idea of like a robot. What if he's a like a techie guard? So he actually has a guard suit that has just this giant TV monitor for its chest.
Oh.
Literally back like keyboard, mouse, and he can talk to people, but he's way out of removed, distracted, playing Pong most of the time.
Awesome. I love it.
Okay.
You can type his name, and that gives us something about how the guards operate now. I love the idea of the sort of the Emile Zola great display thing on the center of the chest.
Thanks.
Sean, what do you want?
Sure. Alfie Turner is one of the bolters.
Okay.
Him and a few other people who found a way out of the camp have a small enclave somewhere in a cave on the island.
Awesome.
And I'll throw that in there.
Okay. And then William.
Gonna go with Minion.
Okay.
Make
And
I was gonna go with coming up with names are always the hardest.
absolutely.
Well, usually the name I use is Sean Williams, but I didn't know if that would go. You know, that would throw
Yeah.
Sean off.
Oh no, that won't bring it up.
Okay. Do that.
Just through a name generator on the side. You can just pick by
Okay, cool.
background if you want help. But no, if there's a Sean, go for it.
And for Mr. Williams, and feel free also if you want to throw a hero name on the, if you have powers and want to give yourself a nom de plume or a nom de super, feel free to do that. Enforcer or number 2, are you imagining, or something else, William?
I see him more. He's an enforcer mainly because he's not smart enough to add to the command structure. He's more the brute force. Problems happen. He's the one they send.
All right.
That'll
That
work.
sounds great. Awesome. And you'll type in the name. I am going to grab from my pick. Let's come over here. A caps lock on, apparently. Oh no. And so Bernard Broderick is literally the only plumber on the island. He is the support staff, and essentially when they came to put together the various support staff, they've got lots of high-tech IT and electronics to service the guards and things like that, but it's the sort of hard base infrastructure that they actually have problems with. And so Bernard Broderick is the only plumber here. All right. So now, Chris, we're going to come back to you, and you now need to pick from the inmate side, and you have 3 tiers to pick from.
I think I'll go with the convicts.
Okay. And again, we'll hit you with the name question. Pour my coffee a little further away from the microphone this time.
Still got it.
I just got this Yeti mic, so it's much more sensitive than I'm used to.
I just saw a bunch of people talking about those on the Googles, I guess.
Yeah. They had a lightning sale on Amazon.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, trust. Okay.
Bryce Colson.
Oh, awesome. Okay, get Colson there.
No idea if that's a real person.
That's awesome. Convict, superpowered criminal. So you can keep in the back of your mind, you know, what kind of powers they might have had before they got the collar put on them. Rich, you have from the inmate side as well, and you've got 2 choices.
Yeah, boy, it's just kind of like Lady Blackbird. Nobody wants to play the mastermind. Nobody wants to play Lady Black. I'm interested in the masses now. They can also be mutants as well, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I want to play Calvin Rankin.
Okay.
He was an enforcer until the guards beat down and killed his lover, Tabitha. So.
Ooh, okay.
Smith, so it's a real bummer that you have.
Broken former enforcer. I like that. All right. Sean.
Our warden, her name is Luisa Alvarez.
Awesome. Anything we should know about Warden Alvarez?
She's about 40 or 50. She was a diplomat before. Perhaps she was involved in actually getting like the mutant registry passed at some point. And she's from around here, I guess, based on what we know about the island. It's like she seems Venezuelan or something like that.
All right. That sounds awesome. William, I think.
Yeah, I want to thank Sean for taking warden, so I didn't have to. So that leaves me with the trustee.
Yeah.
And I honestly picked out this name before it was going to be trustee, but it's Maximilian Strobel.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like a trustee name almost.
So what kind of trustee do you imagine him being? Somebody who's has a minor power and so they didn't care about him, or good behavior?
And there's someone on the authority side. I see him almost as a financial backer, but for his own reasons. He has something against the mutant populace.
Ah, interesting. So someone here's here on the island sort of assessing his financial goals and maybe his own fetishes for seeing the mutants punished?
Yeah, they did things to his family, and he would like to see them exterminated, to be honest, but at least containment is a lesser option, but something.
Okay.
And he may as well profit from it.
Well,
Right.
sure.
Oh, now you've left me with the mastermind, you bastards. Let me think here.
You could have chosen on us, so you didn't. You're left. You did you.
I did this to myself. Let's think. So, my mastermind is essentially Professor Mind, real name Horatio Danifer, and Professor Mind was attempting to establish an academy, for mutants and mutant mankind harmony, but then got wrapped up in here, and he has gone dark. He's been jaded and certainly has no hope for human relations here, and has essentially he's Professor X from the last movie who never got better, but of course with the restraining collar on him.
Yeah.
All right.
He sounded familiar.
Yes. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to kind of do this in the same order, and we're going to determine oaths for our characters. And oaths are an interesting thing because they really set up what the challenges are for your play. Now, an oath. Let me get to my little line here in this. An oath is essentially setting up for yourself a phrase that is everyone wants X or everyone wants something, but I will never do this to get it. So the unique drive from our thing is everybody wants memory, everybody wants to go back to the way things were. Everyone wants to kind of return to, you know, the past. We've got memory there as our unique drive. But we've all got an oath about what we're not going to do to achieve that. I'll give you some examples, and examples are like, I will never betray my beloved, I will never kill a man, I will never disgrace my position. Those are the kind of classic oaths. Now, if you're stuck, I do have a doc that I will grab the link for real quick, and I should have grabbed that before, that has the random oath table from Durance. And I'll throw that in the chat here once I actually pull it up. Let me grab that, and it'll at very least it'll give you some ideas on what you might want. Come on, and sharing is caring. Okay, and copy link. Okay, so there's the link to the Google Doc if you want to check that out. And so we're going to go around, and you'll pick one of your characters and define the oath, and it'd be best if you can drop the oath then underneath your inmate so that other people can see it to have that to reference and play off of. And they do have a random generator there, so if you want to randomly generate your oath, feel free. And so for each new thing, I make Chris go first.
Oh, joy.
Or do you want me to go first?
Let me have a look at these oaths first.
Sure, sure, absolutely. In the last Durance game, one of the best ones we had was one of the characters essentially chose an oath that would turn down a good meal, and I was the warden, and essentially I made her do a Sophie's choice between her two children for a good meal, and so that caused her to break her oath. It was really awful. I was a horrible person in that one, and actually that was Leonie. I felt very bad about it afterwards. Let me think what I'm going to do here. Okay. Yeah, and feel free to type in your stuff if you've come up with things. We can kind of figure those out. So we've got Luisa Alvarez would never show a weaker man mercy.
That's a good one.
Ah, nice.
I see what Calvin just dropped in there.
So Calvin Rankin, never forgive Luisa Alvarez for what she's done. Let's see, I'm going to do
And for Spring Heel, Alfie, I'm thinking I will never go back there again. But I think he might actually be talking about the mainland,
Oh, okay.
not the camp.
Like that. never keep a profitable secret.
Yeah, for those who can't see the roll 20, Chris Sienkiewicz has I will never keep a profitable secret. See him as watching and taking notes and passing things along.
For Bernard Broderick, the plumber, I put, I will never place other people's comfort over my own.
That's not the kind of person I want as a plumber.
Yes. I'm going to roll for my other one. Oh, I can actually do this.
When we roll, we're going to be rolling 3d6 all the time, right?
Well, actually, it'll be 2d6. The guide will be rolling at a time.
Okay.
And you'll want to do them individually, so the syntax that you want to copy will be the 1d6. 4, 3. Ooh, that's tough. I got a really tough one for Professor Mind. Oof. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right. So it looks like we've just got Bryce and Maximilian and Sean Williams. Maximilian. And replace my own safety over the people's freedom. I do like the oath system in this.
Mm.
Oh, I guess I should put. Let me edit this. Select. Doesn't let me do that. Okay. Text. Oh, it doesn't. Whoops. Is that me? Yeah, that was me.
No, Sean Williams will never pay for protection since he's used to being the protection.
Ah, like that. Come on. Sorry, I got a weird thing with my... Why is it doing that? I don't know if it's moving around on your screen. I've done something here. Oh, funny. Well, that's a bug I've never had before.
What's up?
Oh, I've got it such that it's moving somehow attached to my screen. When I move my cursor, it's moving everything around on my screen.
Oh no.
Okay. So let's see. All right, escape isn't doing it. Return isn't doing it. That's open. So let me alt tab out of this.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, that didn't do it. Oh, come on. Sorry, I apologize for this. I have done something weird. Okay. Okay, now it's set. Okay, apparently backspace did it. All right. Sorry about the G there. So Broderick is mine, and Danifer is mine up there. Okay. And we've got all the oaths in. So really quick. So Warden is Sean, right?
Yep.
Okay. And never show a weaker man mercy. Captain Vaughn is... Okay. Chris?
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. All right. Never allow someone to disrespect Warden Louisa. Bernard Broderick is mine. I will never place other people's comfort above my own. Stankiewicz. Am I pronouncing that right, Rich? Okay. Never keep a profitable secret. And Trustee Maximilian Strobel William. Never place my own safety over people's freedom. And then Professor Mind, Horatio Danifer, I will never punish those who break the rules, which is tough for a person who's supposed to be the mastermind controlling the criminal network. Sean Williams, the Brick, I will never pay for protection. Alfie Turner Springheel, I will never go back to the mainland again. And then Bryce Colston, Chris, I will never kill again. And finally, the masses, Calvin, Rankin, Mimic, I will never forgive Luisa Alvarez for what she's done. So we've got these characters, we've got these oaths, we're going to try and play around on scenes, we'll establish issues on that, we know what the sort of the setup is, what the location looks like. Again, this is an open narrative game, so you're able to feed details in as you wish. To establish facts on your scene. So, real quick, here's how a scene is going to work. A person, and I'm going to start since I'm the host. Person is going to take the role of the guide, and the guide will essentially set a question that they're curious about. Like, what does Warden do when they find out that the bolters have gotten more people, or what is the reaction of Calvin Rankin when some of his friends get moved over to the trustee side. These sort of questions. You can establish facts through your questioning, through your setting up of things. Once you've done that as the guide, then the other players get to say, well, I want to be in the scene, or maybe we can set it up this way, and it's kind of a negotiation. Anybody can play NPCs that are off the table, that haven't been established yet. You're welcome to establish names, to establish other characters, and we'll kind of play out that scene. The scene's played out, again, a little bit like Fiasco. It's very open-ended. One of the ideas being that you want to push people on their oaths. You want to create situations that will challenge their oaths essentially out of the gate. You want to start pushing on that. That's sort of an important side to things. The other thing being that the person who's the guide is going to kind of keep an observation on the scene, listen to what's going on. They can ask questions to fill in details, to say, okay, well, what's going on here? They can add a few setup details if needed. Generally, you don't want the guide to play an NPC in that scene. You want to let the other people do that. The guide should be keeping an eye out for when it looks like the scene has kind of come to a resolution. And ideally, a little bit earlier, when it seems to kind of reach maybe an impasse. Now, sometimes a scene will have a pretty clear result that we can see that, okay, well, we know that this person is going to go and do this, or this thing is going to happen. And the guide will kind of make that explicit and check with the group and make sure that they're cool with that definition. Now, if not, if we see that there's a conflict that we're not sure about how it's going to resolve, then we're actually going to go to the resolution table, and I'm going to move you back onto another page real quick. So I'm going to put you back on this start page, and you'll see we've got that chain of uncertainty dice. And what we're going to do here is, Sean, would you roll me a d6?
Sure. Do you want 1 or 2?
Let's start with 1. I'll
Okay.
put it in each of the spaces here. Okay, so we start out with a value 5. Come on. Oh, well, I'm still in text, so that wouldn't help, would it? We start out with a value 5 here in servility, and then if you'd roll me another d6. We start out with a value 1 in savagery, and then one more. We start out with another 5, copy, paste. Another 5 here in memory. What's going to happen is if we see that a scene is unresolved, that it has an uncertain result, the person who's the guide is going to pick 2 of these dice to roll. They'll leave 1 stable. They'll pick 2 dice to roll, and they'll change their values. So let's say I were to re-roll servility and drive. And let's say that one of them came up, let's say that memory came up a 3 and servility came up a 6. Then we know that the 6 is the highest value there. It's the dominant one. So the resolution, however we negotiate it, should revolve around some act of servility or some tone of servility there. If there are dice that are tied, that creates some complexity and can change that up. We have to kind of find, a dominant one and then add an element, and we'll kind of negotiate that. If we get all 3 dice that are at a single value, then something horrible occurs, and we'll go to the Durance event table and roll on that and create problems. So the dice will change depending on that. In the one Durance game we played, we only, I think, went to the dice a couple of times, but I've heard that in other plays, people go to that more often. So it'll just depend on our play style here. Are there any questions about that? I know I've kind of swung through that very quickly.
So if we've set up a scene where people are, they're pointed at each other and they seem to be angling for different things, and it gets to a point where it's like, okay, which way could this scene go? And everyone just kind of pauses, then the guide can say, okay, we're going to roll, and I'm going to pick savagery and memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Roll. Okay.
So the guide is a little bit like you guys. We're going to kind of be switching through storyteller sort of GMs in this. So what I want to do here is we're going to get going on this. Does anybody want to get beverage, food, bio break here before we get started on the actual scenes? Or are you good?
I'm good for now.
Okay. We are going to stop a little before, in about an hour we're going to stop because Rich is going to have to take off, and we'll take a break there, and then we'll see how far we want to continue on from there. So that'll be good. So ideally we want to push Rich's characters all to the brink in the meantime. All right. So I am going to switch back to the other page on the Roll20 thing, on the main page, and then as the guide, I'm going to establish a scene, and I have to think about this. So, and I have to come up with a question that revolves around the characters, and that doesn't necessarily include my setup here. So my question for this scene is, what happens when Warden Louisa decides that she really needs someone in her pocket on the inside, on the inmate side? That she needs a personal connection, a personal person that she can bring over. So I'll leave that out there as the question for the scene.
I think I'm probably in that as Louisa.
And that'll allow you to kind of define who might else be in the scene, if you want one or two people, or how you want to negotiate there.
I'd probably be bringing in the captain or Sienkowitz on this.
Okay. Do you want to bring in both? One? How do you want to do that?
By raise of hands? You know what? Captain Vaughn's a good right-hand man.
Okay.
He's there for sure.
All right. And Vaughn, do you imagine you'd bring your techie guard person with you, or is this one-on-one with the warden?
I think we could bring in a guard.
Okay.
Might
So,
be more knowledgeable about the people.
So let's say a scene, Louise, you can set where it's at, and it's Sienkiewicz and Vaughn and Alvarez in this particular scene here. And I'm going to let you guys go.
Vaughn, we've had another escape from Unit B this week, and that's bringing our total up to 3 this month. And I have heard nothing from you about how we're going to prevent these breaches in the future.
Well, what do you suggest? You can't just chain them up in their cells.
Sure you can. What's wrong with that?
We've figured out that the tighter we crank down the chains, the harder they fight to escape them. So no, you're right. We probably shouldn't just chain them to their cells. What I was thinking was maybe we can build some inroads with some of the inmates. Find ones who would rather see their brethren well served by the colony here. Can you think of anyone that would be willing to help us out and help prevent these dangerous escapes in the future?
You want to put in a sleeper agent or something?
A sleeper agent? Yes, that's sounds just like what we need. Someone willing to let us know in advance before anything like this happens, and who can keep their ear to the ground on the inside.
We're gonna have to find someone that they don't know.
Wow, thanks for bringing me along to basically say I'm not even doing my job. Thanks. Really appreciate that. I mean, with all due respect, Louisa, you know, if you didn't keep cropping out our budgets and leaving me with, like, secondhand parts that I got to get off eBay, you know, maybe if I had people to cover my shifts rather than, I don't know, you firing everybody, you know, maybe we'd have some better security. And now what you want to do is you want to find some rat think that's going to go in and, like, narc out on people. You actually going to trust that guy or girl? I mean, good luck. Good luck.
Did you just... Sankovic, did you just call me girl? Did you just... It is a good thing that I like you?
Well, you got some gender identity thing, Louisa? Come on.
You're already pushing it, Sankovic. What I want here is results. And...
This is Sienkiewicz, Louisa. Come on.
Chris.
It's not so hard. I mean, you're talking to me about gender stuff, and what's your deal? What's your deal? You're some kind of like anti-Nash, some kind of. Fine. If you want to find a rap think, that's good. You should probably go for Coulson because you got tons of leverage on the guy. I mean, how many people did he kill? Why is he not on death row anyway?
See, now this is why I keep you around. Coulson, you say? Do you think you could work with him? See if he'd be receptive to the idea of possibly redeeming himself, earning his way out of his collar.
I watch and report. The captain's good with people. I don't care.
Coulson is an option. I mean, he says he wants to redeem himself. I'm not sure if he does, but he seems to be on the level.
Then find him sometime soon. He should be easy enough to track down and present the idea to him. And we're not asking him to be a rat.
Got no leverage, Louisa. Why don't you talk to him? Why don't you do some work? Why don't you get up out of your office? Plus, having Chris talk to Chris is probably not going to work out so great. So why don't you do it, Louisa?
I like you, Chris, but not this much. Get the fuck out of my office.
Deuces.
I'm okay with seeing there. You're muted, Lowell.
So we'll say that that's the scene, that we've got the Coulson issue brought up onto the table. We also have an overhanging trouble here for Captain Vaughn, since he's just seen his subordinate disrespect the warden in front of him. So that is out there on the table. So he either needs to decide to do something about that or break his oath. But of course, and does that seem like a reasonable resolution to that, the kind of defining what came out of it?
I was pushing hard on that oath, so yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know, I'm waiting, I'm like, no, my right-hand man's just gonna let this guy talk trash to me?
I'm imagining that Chris is planning the long game. So that oath is out there to be considered and to be looked at. Now I'm going to move in an order here, the established. So I am going to come to Chris as the guide, and you can establish a question, establish a scene. It can be related to what we just did, or it can be something new. However you want to do that, you'll set that up for us to play through.
Okay, let me see.
And the order after this will be Rich, Sean, and then William.
I have no idea.
Are you thinking trouble on the more on the inmate side, or something between authority and inmates, or?
I was thinking something between Calvin and Mastermind. Like, what's gonna happen when Calvin wants to break some rules to get back at Warden Louisa?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how Calvin would be thinking of doing that.
Okay.
So obviously, Professor Mind, Horatio Danifer, is in the scene, and I imagine that Sean Williams would also be in that. Does that seem reasonable? The Brick.
I think so. Plays a follow-up.
Guy who replaced Calvin. That's nice.
Yeah, and Calvin coming hat in hand to Professor Mind.
So wait, I'm sorry. Maybe I misunderstood. What's the setup? So Calvin's coming to Professor Mind for something on Louisa? I thought it was. Okay, help me understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's what you were saying, Chris, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Calvin, you've essentially the idea is that Calvin wants to do something, has a plan to do something to the warden, but is coming to the mastermind for some reason related to that. Does that seem cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So I imagine that again, everything we talked about is monitored, but there are probably a few tiny alcoves, back access ways that are maybe hidden off from the security surveillance, and I imagine they are incredibly uncomfortable. Narrow hallways you have to slide down through to get to it. So Professor Mind's office, is essentially an unused bathroom that was forgotten in the layout. So, the toilet is his seat. He's got a little desk table that he set up there. Everyone is crammed into this, 8x8 office there. And all the plumbing probably bubbles and gurgles when it goes through there. And he's a shaggy guy. I'd perhaps a little more Howard Hughesian. Long fingernails and dirty long hair, and we'll say to Williams, to Brick, I understand that Mr. Rankin is outside waiting in the hall.
Yeah, boss. Wanted to talk to you about something with a warden or something. I don't know. You want me to bring him in?
I'm wondering what made you decide that he should be brought up in the list of people. It seems something unusual for you, your predecessor.
I'll be honest, I don't like the guy much, but I guess everyone deserves a shot at talking with you, right, boss? Right?
If you wish to be fair. Bring him in. Which involves just opening the door, and there's like 3 feet separating us.
Calvin, go on.
Mr. Rankin.
Horatio.
So, my associate here, my enforcer, tells me that you have come to petition us. It has been some months. I thought perhaps you'd bolted off the reservation.
Come on, Horatio. You knew where I was.
Perhaps
Just took to give her Tabby, all right? All right?
Why have you come? Please come in. You can shut the door behind you. I know it's a little cramped, but...
Horatio, we've got to take Alvarez down.
What?
We got to take Alvarez down. You saw what she did to Tabitha. She's putting the screws to people.
You, that's what you're proposing is a significant move. Something that I think the death of one woman doesn't particularly merit.
Life for a life. Come on, Ratio.
There are different levels to life and different values to this. I think what you're proposing is A, more dangerous to everyone here, will cost more lives, and given the relative stability of this place, I'm unhappy to rock the boat.
Well, at least you're honest, Horatio. You want to continue to sit here in your little shitter and pretend that you're the master of something? Put me in place. Just put me in the right place. I got no problems. What do I have left? So just put me in place to take her down. She keeps me a good 30, 50 yards away. So just put me in the right place, and then you can deal with the aftermath. You can set yourself up to be a hero. I don't care.
I can
Hey, back up.
Thank you. Thank you, Brick. You left my employ without warning. You offered me nothing of tangible benefit. And what you're asking me is to bring more chaos to here. That is not a profitable state for anyone.
What do you want?
I want you to figure out what you can offer me that would make it worth my while to strike at the warden.
You're not going to set up a damn school, Prof. What do you want? You want me to finger somebody with it? You want me to say that somebody else set me up rather than you?
No, it seems to me certainly you are asking for your own death, and I have no problem with that. But I want to profit from your death. So figure that out, come back, and we'll talk again.
All right. Thanks.
And after he leaves, and after we make sure that he's gone down the access corridor, I will turn to Brick and say, I want people watching him 24/7.
Got it, boss. Make sure he never leaves it.
Yes, he's going to become a liability.
He's lost his edge.
Oh, he may have a new edge, and that's what worries me.
I'll get some people on it right now.
Chris, does that seem like a reasonable resolution to you?
Yeah, seems like a seed.
Okay. So we got that set. Pretty clear resolution on where things end up. We don't have to go to any kind of uncertainty there. Got that set up. So we've moved on a couple of things. Rich, it is your time. Your turn to set a question up.
I think question. This is going to be a tough question because it's almost like I see a pairing. So maybe somebody can help me find the question. But I would love for what is it? Here's the question. It's like a backwards way to get there. What's the call that gets Bernie out of bed at 2 a.m.? And what happens when he runs into Alfie?
All right. So that'll be Broderick and Alfie. Does that seem like a reasonable pairing there, based on what you've said?
Yes.
Okay. So
Alfie in a hiding spot at some point that Bernard walks into as he's heading to a call at late night.
Well, I've actually got an idea for that. If I can kind of play off and sort of set the scene.
Please.
And you stop me if this doesn't seem okay to you, Spring Heel. That Bernard, gets one of his alarms, and it's big enough that he has to get out of bed even though he doesn't want to, and go to a reclamation set of tubes that are on the very outskirts of the facility. Ugh, it's like a 30-minute walk for him, and to haul his toolbox, and he gets out to there, and he's kind of not thinking, and he steps out through the doorway to get to the thing, and he sees Alfie, and I don't know if Alfie has some of his people there, essentially, and they've busted into this to get out some of the reclamation protein and stuff. Does that seem like a reasonable setup there?
I was thinking something along those lines as well, yeah.
And Broderick will kind of stop. Hey?
So it's some of the other bolters that are hard at work on trying to extract the protein from this tank. I'm trying to think of some of their names. Let's not worry about that right now. So they're busy working, and yeah, Bernie comes across them, does his double take, and he hears a fluttering behind him as something drops from a tree, and I'm standing there in a stereotypical vampire pose with glowing eyes behind him.
Oh, I just peed myself a little. Hey guys.
Run. You do not belong here.
Wait.
You are very far from safety.
I here to kind of looks, realizes that you're in the way to get back to the door, and is sort of frozen, and will say, can I get past you?
Springhill turns aside and pushes him out the door, where he sees that there's like a semicircle of the other bolters with, you know, backpacks and tools, all just staring at him out here in the jungle.
All right. Pushing him towards them, or pushing him back into the base?
Pushing him back into the base.
Okay. So I expect then, pushed back into the base, that Broderick will sort of immediately thumb his comms thing to call for soldiers there. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah. One of Alfie's companions swings like a big spanner wrench down at Bernard's hand.
Okay. So he's now feels trapped here, trying to going inside. Is he giving him room to flee?
There's no. You know what? They're closing in. They've covered across the doorway as well too now.
I thought you said run. That's what I heard. That's the first thing I heard.
He's seen
What's the new paradigm?
Alfie's eyes just glow bright red, and he opens up his hands, and they're like hooks as he starts chasing Bernard further into the compound.
Okay. So I will assume that Bernard will start to flee. Is Alfie's intent to cause serious harm?
I think mostly just to make it very, very seriously intimidate him. Although he's not above harm, I'm interested to see what would happen.
Are we at a conflict point here?
I think we're at a conflict point. So let me switch back over to the other page.
Alfie's a bad person.
Yeah, terrible person. All right, so Rich, you get to pick 2 dice to roll.
I
So
see.
which die first?
I would like to roll. I'm not going to roll for. Oh man, I'm going to roll for servility and savagery.
Okay, let's have you roll the servility drive first.
I'm not sure if I know how to make these dice go on this goofy giganto interface.
Roll 1d6.
Space after roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, geez, that's not good.
That's alphabetical, by the way. That goes to savagery, sir.
Oh, a good savagery?
Alphabetically.
And then, then roll for servility.
1.
Okay.
Oh, savagery rules the day.
I think we know where this is going.
Alfie trips and breaks his neck. It's so savage.
I don't want him dead.
Rich, do you want to make a suggestion there on that, or should we suggest something?
I think that Broderick gets really hurt and left. Yeah. Whether Alfie intended it or not, just in the moment, maybe even one of Alfie's bolter buddies gets a little overzealous, but Broderick gets pretty darn hurt.
So cut across the arm, across the leg, that sort of slash, that sort of quick cut montage of him being beaten, and then maybe a shot of him laying on the ground, gasping for air as your bolters take off. Does that
Pretty
seem
much that? Yeah, I would have been chasing him through like the pipes and workings of the reclamation building, and like scratching at his back with my claws. But then someone took it too far. The guy with the spanner, Marco's a real asshole. He doesn't appreciate the point of fear, and he goes straight for pain.
And I'm pretty sure like one of the pipes, the protein stuff being broken open, and my blood mixing with that on the ground. Horrible, dirty place that I'm left back behind.
And you're stuck trying to like crawl your way out, and it's like the raised grading floors. So the whole way out, every inch hurts on the way out.
All right. Essentially, Broderick is currently then later on found and put in the medical plaza, while Springheel gains a strong reputation for murder and violence. And there's no plumbers left.
No.
All right, so that's what we got. Does that seem like a reasonable end to that scene?
I like it.
Totally unreasonable.
All right, so Sean.
Input from other people. We're like in a tightly controlled thing, and it's all about production and meeting quotas. What's the main source of work that they use to keep the inmates busy here? This is like not the actual question. I'm just any help here on this one.
Yeah. I imagine desperate hydroponics, and the climate's mild, but it's not particularly productive, we said. So they probably expected more in terms of hydroponics and stuff, and it's not going the way they wanted it to.
What if there's a particularly hardy plant that does do pretty well on the island? Like cannabis.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Industrial hemp. Totally just industrial hemp.
Sure. Industrial. Or rope.
Yeah, exactly.
The rope industry is very important now.
Industrial hemp and whatever food product they're able to process is a hard tuber that requires a lot of processing, and so every meal is fibery.
Okay. So I would like to see what happens when Sinkovich once, just for you, is doing his patrols in the work camp and discovers some weapons jammed away in a pipe near where Coulson and Calvin are working.
So the only problem is that I'm also Calvin.
Ah, shit. Coulson and Brick, because Brick needs a day job.
Right?
Day job. I love that.
Right, the thug and the pacifist.
He's got a gun. Oh, and I got even more dirt on him.
Yep. That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
All right. So, I just move up and I take a couple pictures of the guns in the area. And I ping it. I drop a little pin on the Google Maps we've got. I log that on my own private channel, and then come over to Coulson. Bryce Coulson, inmate 4273.
What?
It comes out metallic and kind of scary, and less whiny.
What do you want? I didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. What's this over here?
It's not mine.
It's not yours, 4273. Then whose is it? Somebody just drop it? Are you holding it for some friends?
I don't know.
Sean Williams, 8653. Come here.
Yeah. What do you want?
Fuck's this. You got
just
a
some stuff.
proton blaster. You got a few.
We found it.
flamethrowers.
We were gonna let you know. Someone left
yeah.
it out here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So, at what point were you gonna let me know?
Well, I mean, we just came across it.
Oh, we're letting you know now.
A good thing you came by.
You guys. We're just gonna have to put you in. We have to put you in the hole. So come on.
What? For this? For being a good citizen and reporting some contraband.
Poor diddly. Listen,
You didn't give us a chance.
Yeah. The moment you knew about it, you should have reported it. You know that, and you didn't. So, you're aiding and abetting. You got possession of firearms. I got you dead to rights. This is already logged.
I can't leave it here in the middle of nowhere to go off and report it. We're trying to get it put away. We're going to let you know where it was.
No. This is not the conversation that we need to be having, For a guy as well-placed as you are, you'd think you were smarter. But maybe, I don't know, maybe the profs don't work. We use a rub off on you or something. I don't know. You're not very smart. Bryce, why don't you talk to me? I mean, what are we going to do here? I'm just going to throw you guys into solo, huh?
No, I don't want to go. Please, I'll do anything.
Oh, really? Anything?
What do you want? I mean, come on.
Well, why don't you give me a report that it was Brick here, because he's not playing ball.
What?
Why don't you give me a report that this was Brick's weapons, since he's not playing ball?
Hey.
I'll take a step away from Brick and say, and just look at him.
Coulson.
I only need one report. You guys make the choice. It seems like Brick don't want to play. I don't know. Come on, Coulson.
It was Brick. It wasn't me.
Oh, there we go. I got that recorded. Thanks. All right, come on. Come on, Williams. Turn around.
Right.
Turn behind us.
I'm sorry, man.
Right, Horatio will find out about this. You know that.
Can't go back there.
Alright, fine, man. Fine.
Cool.
Sinkovich. Bring me in.
Oh, I really hate it when people make fun of my name. Hey, Coulson, why don't you go get a couple of my buddies? You know, the guards up at the station. Can you go run get them for me?
Yeah, sure, man. Whatever you want.
So here's the deal. You're going into solo, but Luisa wants somebody on the inside. So how long you stay there is really dependent upon how well you want to work with me. How well you want to work with me. I got a testimony. Got you dead to rights.
What's going to blame Bryce? With his record? You want me to watch out for Horatio? That's what I'm hearing?
Horatio makes a move. Any other bolters are about to bubble up, you give me the heads up. You do that, these weapons go away. You get a little solo so that Bryce thinks that he ratted you out, but I never file it. Oh, it's fine. You're gonna lie to me now.
Let's see.
Alright, that's good. I'm just gonna go ahead and stun you. Oh, are you thinking about changing your mind? Playing awful coy. You're evidently very loyal. That's fine. That's fine. I appreciate loyalty. You know, he'll appreciate it too when you're up for 6 months in the hole.
No, boss can't stay by himself unprotected that long. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. You know, maybe he'll go down.
You know, if you don't make me point out Horatio himself, I can't turn on him.
Hey, Horatio's, he's set up. He's a little king. You know, he's not going anywhere. I just want to know when the bolters are going. Whenever somebody's trying to make a move to get out, you let me know. And goes away.
Okay. Alright.
All right, let me ask this. Let me pause here because it's the first time we kind of had it real concrete at the table here. William, do you think that violates his oath? It's a damning thing. It's a heavy choice because if it violates his oath, he is gone. He is out of the game. He is off the table.
Mm.
You get to do some stuff as a result, but
I don't think he's followed through on it.
Yeah, I don't know. Pay for protection. I mean,
how do you? I mean, it's up to you how you want to read that. I just put that out there for you to consider.
mm-hmm.
Or we can say that that's on the table, and if he does follow through, that will be violating his oath. Does that seem reasonable?
Okay.
Okay.
Like,
So that
he
is
actually does sell someone out.
Yeah, that'll be kind of a trouble overhang for you now for that character. Does that seem okay to you, Rich?
Yes, and thank you for picking up on that.
Okay. Sean, is that cool with you?
Yeah. If he does sell someone out, then I'd be looking at the oath for sure.
Okay. And again, I'm being more intrusive than I might otherwise be because this is the first kind of session. So if I'm poking in too much, please say so. William, you are the guide. What question?
I kind of want to see. I want to see a little bit more where Calvin is going to try to find a way to his end to Louisa, or get himself, put himself in danger. Just see how he develops that, I guess.
So what is Calvin doing to push his plan forward?
Yeah, last we saw, he left Horatio with trying to come up with a plan. I'd like to see if he's recruiting someone, if he's just scoping things out. I don't know.
Okay, that's a good question. It does put the ball in Rich's court now.
So can I say who he's trying to work with to get this
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I don't know where you're going with it. So
Shit, I don't know either, dude. Making stuff. We have not seen Maximilian Strobel. Wouldn't it be interesting if one of the trustees and Calvin end up talking?
ooh,
Let's say that there is some kind of stupid holiday party going on. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some excuse to why they would be in the same physical space. Like, I don't even know why Maximilian Student would be on this crazy island.
he could be coming maybe to visit, to do an inspection, to make sure his interests are being watched over.
I like the idea of it being Thanksgiving. That's a particularly colonial holiday that would be celebrated here.
I love that.
Sure.
The bountiful harvest banquet.
Yes.
Double tubers for everybody.
Double up on the tubers. Everyone gets one package of sugar.
It's Splenda, but same difference.
Yeah, okay. So Maximilian is here on a tour. Is it one of those, like, the district manager comes to the restaurant, so he's completely surrounded by people who are showing him only pretty parts of the facility, or?
Probably so. Maximilian would want to see more, but at least initially, maybe taking a look around. Because he's more interested in making sure these people are safe. He doesn't mind seeing the dirty parts as long as it's to the detriment of the mutants and inmates here.
Cool. All right. This is a tough one. Because I'm trying to make logical leaps as to how much Calvin would know, wouldn't know. And I don't want to play through a long, protracted, getting to know you, sit down for drinks, hold hands kind of thing.
Well, we've established that you had a plan in place, so perhaps you do know Strobel's background. You know that he dislikes mutants, and maybe you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a secret agenda. That'd be well known for his dislike.
All right.
For example, yeah, okay, go on.
No, a little worries.
Well, I was going to suggest that one of the ways that you could do that is to plant the thought in Strobel's mind that Alvarez is being sympathetic to the mutants.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
She's being hard, but she's being too fair.
Cool. All right, so let's say we are sitting and eating. I don't even know if I'm a mutant, and I'm definitely not going to tell you. So, So I sit down across from you. Hello, Mr. Strobel. My name's Calvin.
Good to meet you, Calvin.
I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I understand your position in relation to the island, and I know that you've got a lot of pull. I gotta tell you, this place is a powder keg.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know you didn't put Alvarez in place, right? She's not your girl.
No, she wasn't my first choice.
No. I'm sure you probably would have made a better choice.
Of course I think so, yeah.
I mean, somebody who's really going to lock this down.
Someone who would show the inmates what needs to be done, what they deserve, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I don't know if you've kept count, or if she provides you with a count of the number of escapees.
Yeah, I was going to have a meeting with her about that. That is a concern to the board.
5 in the last 40 days.
Oh, 5? I'd only heard 4.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
I'd heard the recent one.
Now, have you heard about what happened to the only plumber on the island? He was attacked by boulders.
We have inmates attacking staff?
We have escaped inmates who are attacking staff.
So the escaped inmates are staying on the island, running free?
Why wouldn't they? What's keeping them here? Alvarez is definitely not making it inhospitable for them. And I have not seen a chase team in months.
This is much worse than I was led to believe. Okay.
Now, I know going through HR, I mean, I used to work in the corporate world. I know going through HR is going to take you months. It's going to be a really protracted thing. But I'm sure you're not to the point where you want to take any drastic measures. So I understand. I respect that. I do.
What are you proposing?
You know, if she were to be removed from office suddenly due to some kind of another revolt, an uprising, a riot, you could put in whoever you want. You want to lock it down as hard as you want. It's up to you.
Well, I'm not necessarily opposed to taking some drastic, off-the-books action. If it gets what I want. What exactly is your affiliation with the facility here? How can you help me?
I used to be the number 2 for basically the capo of this place, and we had an ounce, and I'm just out of it. I'm done. I want out of here, and I figure if I can help you, then down the road you can help me. Or not. It's really, if I do a good enough job, then we have a partnership.
Like a man with ambition. Okay. Exactly how can you get the warden out? What are your thoughts? Obviously you've come up with some ideas here. What do you need my assistance for?
There are 4 points within the facility that are not entirely secure. I could point any of those out to you, and if you and her can head that way, I guarantee your safety, and you can pick whoever you want to replace her.
You know, I've been eyeing one of the guards. He's got a bit Sinkovich. Yeah, he's got definitely a different outlook on how inmates should be treated. Yeah, okay.
I'll tell you, the Vaughn's a suck-up, just so you know. I think the 2 of them are porking on the side.
Should we say in scene for that? Does that seem like we've got an established result there?
I think so. Definitely a plan boiling.
All right. So here we cut to my scene, back to me as guide, and I will say the question is, what happens when Rankin goes to carry out his assassination of Alvarez?
Oh.
So
is that something I try to pick as a guide, or we roll for that, or we act?
So, well, we're going to kind of set it up and see if we can kind of come to negotiation. So, Alvarez is on site. Vaughn is on site, right? I would assume. Obviously, Rankin is on site, and Turner is on site. And so I leave it in your guys' hands how you wish to work out that. Does that seem like a reasonable set of things?
So set piece, could we set it in the professor's toilet, throne room there?
The tour goes down there.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking Calvin would point out, here are certain points that are insecure. So I was just saying, there are only so many sets we can afford to construct here. We've got a budget.
Right. Occupied or unoccupied lavatory is Danifer gone from his offices?
I think so. It doesn't have to be. I was just throwing it out there. It could totally be a
Oh,
brand
I like
new.
that. I like the idea of the tour going more dangerous places and maybe Vaughn getting more nervous, and then it coming to a head. So does that seem reasonable?
You're saying Vaughn? Are you meaning Strobel?
Oh, I mean Strobel.
Me?
Sorry.
Okay.
So Strobel, Alvarez, is Vaughn there or not there?
So do you want Vaughn there or not? And this would be actually, I think, the warden's choice.
Yeah, whatever I just want.
Oh, yeah, you know what? If someone from the outside is here, then there's no way I'm letting him walk around without an escort. Vaughn is with him.
Okay. And you're with him.
Since
this is the setup for the assassination, that would be the Alvarez.
Yeah, you're also calling on Alfie to be around too, so I'm not sure which is more important to have.
No, this would be. I'm imagining Alvarez, Strobel, Rankin, and that's and Alvarez and Captain Vaughn.
Okay.
And take up in a scene where you guys have kind of come back. So we start out with seeing Vaughn and Alvarez and Strobel, and they've gone down one of these black back alley checkpoints. And we take up with that moment. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Miss Alvarez, are you sure this is a good spot? This doesn't look as secure as some of the other areas we've looked at.
Oh, not to worry, Maximilian. This is just the quickest way to get from the detention center, which we just left from, and over to the processing plant where we extract the fiber from the hemp plants here. So this is just the quickest way between there.
I still think you be down here. It's not safe. There's people out for your blood.
And we'll assume that something has been done in the background to kind of mess up the map trackers for you guys, because this is not an area you normally walk. So they've done that so that you think you're going one way, but in fact you're heading down to this awful toilet doom.
And then it's just a quick left here, and we go through this doorway, and we'll cut through this building here.
And we'll
then
assume
we're in the underground hallway now with like the pipes along the walls, like steam pipes and things like that.
You should probably get maintenance down here or something to take a look at this. This doesn't look right.
Vaughn, make a note. Please call Bernie when we get back. Add this to his ticket list, okay?
Okay. Where are we again?
This tunnel should come up inside the processing plant.
So
right. Of course.
So you don't know this area? You're unfamiliar with your facility? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, like the back of my hand, and that's when we reach like a dead end in the tunnel.
Okay. Well, the door. How about the door to that bathroom office?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right through here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Open it up into the filthy bathroom office with the stuff there.
Huh.
If it's cool, I think Calvin is there. He's just washing his hands. He looks over. Mr. Strobel.
Yes. Calvin, was it?
This is one of the areas that the bolters use to get out. It's completely not covered by cameras or any of the guards' patrols.
Yeah, it was something I was wanting to bring up. Is this true, Miss Alvarez?
Never mind that. Captain Vaughn, he's off the grid. He's not. He's supposed to be in production plant right now. Have this man taken out of this building now.
I got my hands up, and I'll start walking forward. I just wanted to point out one of the blind spots to you, Mr. Shovel.
Warden, and I say, I tell Calvin to empty his pockets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm continuing walking forward and start reaching down for my pockets.
All right. Shall I go to the conflict now? Does it look like an uncertain set of things? Does that seem reasonable? Okay. So I'm not going
to put my own safety, you know.
Right. All right. So I think we're going to have to roll for savagery and memory here for the resolution. Okay. So I'm going to roll for memory first. It's a 6. Nice. And then slash roll a 2.
Ooh.
So let's see here. Just basically, what is your bloody intent here, Rankin?
So, feel free to overrule.
Sure.
But I thought instead of having a shiv, he's actually tweaked his collar so that he's operational as a mutant right now.
All right.
Okay.
And
as Mimic, he has optic blasts, and so he was just going to try to look at her.
Okay. So try to do that. We've got memory there. Strobel, what is your goal in this scene?
Well, Strobel wasn't intended to be getting his hands dirty. He would like to see this accomplished, but without any direct implications to him, obviously.
And now it looks like things are about to go down, and your safety's about to be endangered.
Yeah, I
guaranteed your safety.
I know you.
It's my own safety when people's freedom. Oh man, that's fun.
You say you're going to guarantee my safety, but what happens because there's 2 people here? I don't know. He's watching to see what Calvin's plan is, and if Calvin gets the upper hand, then he'll assist. But if not, he's going to just play dumb.
What does he do when the optic blasts start to light up? Does he fall back or help out with the attack?
If he's able to fall back and maybe occupy occupy Captain Vaughn.
Okay, so Captain Vaughn is attempting to do what?
I just want to protect Louisa and get her out of there safely.
Okay. So we've got sort of 2 people knocking heads there. And Alvarez, what is your reaction to this?
When the optic blasts go off and Captain Vaughn tries to subdue him, but it's like he's totally misjudged what's actually going on when Calvin was going for his pockets. I think Louisa subdues Calvin with like a taser or something like that. And with him pinned down on the ground, takes that opportunity to remind him why Horatio wouldn't even find him useful.
So maybe can we say, Rich, are you okay with an injury to the warden, maybe severe, as you're taken down, and that memory is called back up. You probably have that flashback to her face again and the death of your loved one.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think maybe Calvin stands there, and when he empties his pockets, he's got like a little cover off of the collar where he's popped his collar, and that's when his eyes start to glow that kind of cool Scott Summers red.
Yeah.
And you guys just launch into action, and that's the captain. What is basically moving for Alvarez. Alvarez tasers him as the optic blasts come out, and they just singe the side of her face and kind of burn her ear, mangle it really bad. And then he gets thrown down to the ground by Captain Vaughn, and he just says, "Tabby, this is for Tabby. It's for Tabby."
And probably there's a glance up from Vaughn and Alvarez at Strobel, realizing maybe he was involved in this. That question still looming on the table. But for the moment, we'll close the scene with Rankin taken out. Does that seem reasonable? Okay.
Louisa kneeled across his chest and makes eye contact with Maximilian. See, everything is under control here.
All right. So we'll close that scene out. So Rankin's off the table. We would normally do a thing about switching things around, but I'm going to hold off on that. Sienkiewicz will remain as an NPC, and we're going to take a break here. Briefly, Chris is going to take the next scene to lead on from there, and Rich is going to take off here.
Thanks, guys. This was brilliant fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll take about a 5-minute break for bio, and then we'll continue on, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Back in a sec.
Good night.
Sounds like someone
Goodness.
doing construction work during their
Yes.
break.
Sounded like a coffee grinder or
Oh.
something of that nature. So let me kind of recap and reset where we are. So the camp is in chaos right now, probably lockdown. The warden has been attacked by an inmate who was able to disable their collar. It suggests maybe a larger conspiracy, other people involved because of the map tracker and the tech to get the collar off. And she has been wounded. Captain Vaughn has managed to stop, but Warden Alvarez was still injured. We've got the only plumber still laid up in the hospital, even as there's equipment failures that have gone on from attacks. Maximilian Strobel can't get off the island right now, and he wants to move power up, and yet he knows that there might be suspicion pointed at him. Things did not go as cleanly as he might have wanted. Professor Mind, Danifer, is worried about blowback now because certainly he had contact with Rankin. Sean Williams, the Brick, still has some debts that he owes, and both to Sienkiewicz and, of course, to Bryce Colton, who fingered him. Alfie Turner realizes perhaps that he doesn't have as much control over his bolters as he wished. So there's some question about that, and he's more wanted. And Bryce Colson realizes that he has crossed the enforcer for the mastermind. Is that a fairly accurate summary of the situation?
I think so. I know Maximilian is a little upset that he actually sided with the mutant.
Oh yeah,
Didn't realize
that revelation there. All right, so right now Rankin is off the table, so I'm actually going to move his stuff off from that there. Okay, and Chris, you're going to be guiding this next scene. We'll do another round of 4 and see where we're at and assess at that point. So, Chris, what's the question that you want played out or revealed now?
So many interesting angles.
Yeah. What if the ratio finds out that or suspects that Sean is in cahoots with the warden and the guard?
Oh no.
This is after solitary.
Well, he
Yeah.
said he was going to put him in solitary for a short time, so maybe the time is very short and it's suspicious.
So what happens when Danifer hears that that the Brick may be on the payroll of the warden?
Yeah.
All right. So I imagine that Danifer has lost his office due to it being used as a point of assassination. Another thing that makes him nervous. So essentially, he's had to find essentially a storage closet off the grid, and calls the Brick to meet with him. And the Brick will see that there is another huge, mutant brute type who is there jammed into the storage office. So again, tightly, densely packed.
Is this the first meeting since he's been released?
Yeah, let's do that. First meeting.
Okay. Awkward. Okay.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah, boss. Yeah.
You know Brutus, right?
Yeah, I've seen him around. What's here? Something
Well,
up?
with your absence, certainly I required a maintenance of protection.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Well, you can let him go now, right? I'll just take over.
Well, there's a minor matter to be clarified, perhaps more than one.
What you mean?
I mean, several things. One, it seems to me awfully convenient that you would be put in solitary for a short time when Rankin goes to do his assassination attempt in my office. Tries to kill the warden there. And you happen to be off the grid at that moment. And for an amazingly brief period.
Well, I mean, I can't do anything about Rankin. I try to put people on him, but them snatching me up and throwing me in the hole, it kind of
convenient
stop
for you?
that. What? No, not convenient. Boss, I mean, I want to make sure you're safe. That's always been my plan.
The boss is safe.
Thank you, Brutus.
Yeah, I don't need any newcomers stepping in here. I've done a good job. Haven't I served you well? I've done good ever since Rankin screwed up.
I have heard that you... How do I best put this? That the reason your solitary confinement was so short-lived is because of assistance that you rendered to the guards, and that nicely dovetails with your assistance to Rankin in this assassination attempt.
Boss, I didn't have anything to do with that. Okay. I haven't had a chance to tell you about all this, but I mean, Coulson fingered me for something I didn't do when Sinkovich walked in on us. We were doing what you wanted us to do to store those weapons, and he walked in on us. Coulson fingered me, and Sinkovich pulled me aside and wanted me to rat on the bolters and stuff, or when they're about to leave. I said yes. I mean, just for the time being, just to get them off my back. But I ain't done nothing yet. I was gonna come tell you. I just got out. I mean, I hadn't had a chance.
If you wish to remain in my service, if you wish to remain protected by my auspices, then you will make a demonstration to me of that. I want you to listen to me before you talk. If you say that Coulson is at fault, I want you to kill Coulson. You will do that, and that will pay for your protection.
This is excellent.
Yeah, boss, I respect you, and I'm right beside you to make sure you're safe, but I ain't never need to pay for protection. I'm your man. You got to either trust me or not. You know what? I'll kill Coulson, but that I ain't doing it for protection.
That's the cost. That's the payment. You have broken our rules.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is definitely not the norm for you. I mean, no disrespect, boss, but I mean,
I lost my office.
And why do I have to suffer for that?
It had a private toilet. Do you know how rare private toilets are in this place? 3 complete, uninterrupted months of being able to pee and shit by myself? No one here has that right, and I did for 3 glorious months, and that's gone. And nothing that you can do can make up for that.
And so you're going to punish me
Yes!
for what someone else did?
You're going to prove to me that you were not involved. Do this now. Does that seem like a reasonable place to stop to leave you with that decision in hand?
I think so.
Yeah.
Now, part of the reason I did that was to demonstrate what happens when someone breaks their oath here. So Danifer's been pushed to the limit because he's lost his toilet. Which you can imagine. I mean, in a panopticon, no privacy for any of those functions. He had this, and now he's lost it. You know, his last shred of human dignity gone and taken away. So he's broken that. So when that happens, that breaking of the oath, essentially he will go out. He is removed from the scene. He's no longer a notable. He's no longer a player in the story that comes forward from here. He goes off the table. So I will kind of move those down. And then, because he's off the table, I get to choose one of 3 things. Somebody else changes position. We change an element about the setting. For example, if we had order as a negative, we could make order a positive. If we had connections in it, we could switch that around. Or the unique drive for the game changes. So I think in this case, what I'm going to do is, since Sean Williams doesn't want to pay for protection, I assume what he will do is take over.
I can see that.
Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So essentially,
new boss in town.
He is now the mastermind. And how does he do that, do you think?
I don't see him be smart enough to be the mastermind, but...
Is it brutal, or is it
his tendency would probably be brutal. He's not the calculating type. I almost see him just losing his cool here and just going after Sean, but Brutus is there. So
well, I assume that he's tough enough to deal with both.
Yeah, there's nothing to say Brutus doesn't get pulped in the middle of this.
Okay. I would see him just, no, I've never had to pay for protection. I'm not going to start now. You know what? I'm going to become the protection, and then just like...
Okay, and we cut to that scene. Probably there's a shot through the storage room window and the blood hitting it, and the roaring, the crumpling of the walls there.
Yeah. Brutus's hand goes through the brick wall, and then like the rest of him is punched through it as well.
And then Williams coming out relatively unscathed from that. All right, Chris, does that seem like reasonable for the scene that you set?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sean, lots of stuff on the table for you.
No kidding. Oh man, I like what's going on with the mutants right now. Oh, it's too bad we lost the big driver for the rebellion that was kind of bubbling there.
I know.
I want to see Bryce and Brick right now. I want to see their reunion.
And what's the question that you want to ask there?
What demand does Brick place on Bryce to settle their score, or to make up for selling him out?
Awesome. So that looks like a two-man scene there.
I think so, unless anyone else thinks that someone from the Authority belongs.
Where's the new office for our mastermind? the storage closet, generously toweled down and deblooded, or somewhere else?
I think that might, since it would have gotten around what happened, I think having people meet me in the place that it happened would be a good intimidation factor.
Okay.
And not as generously cleaned up in some places, so it's very evident.
So we'll assume that Coulson's...
There's still stains on the wall.
Yeah. Coulson's dragged in, or asked to come voluntarily?
I think it would be a little more forceful. It's kind of the thuggish mastermind.
Okay.
He's escorted.
And scene, go.
Well, Bryce, glad you could come here.
Well, I didn't have my choice, did I? I mean,
No, not really didn't. Well, I'm doing good after the solitary you put me in.
Oh yeah, well, you know how it is.
Yeah. We're gonna have to talk about that, because I can't just let that slide.
Oh, I see you moving up in the world. You should thank me, really. The wonderful opportunity I gave you.
Well, it did turn out to my favor, yeah. But
a little push.
Little push, yeah. It could have gone different ways, so but there's a little something with the Sinkovich, though. Still not happy how that played out.
Sinkovich is a bastard, you know that as well as I do.
Yeah, I know, and I can't just let him roam around, and knowing what he knows, it could be a little uncomfortable for me.
So
I need you to take care of that.
Take care how?
Silence him. Get rid of him.
Oh, get rid of him how? I mean, I can't fire him.
Okay, maybe you're not. Maybe I'm not good at subtlety. I need you to kill him.
Why? Why me?
Well, you got me thrown in solitaire. It ultimately worked out, but I can't have him wandering around knowing what he knows. Take a few guys with you if you need to. I mean, honest, those bolters, they can be pretty nasty. You could take a few of them.
Okay, I guess. Do you know where they are? How am I supposed to get there? I mean, he'll just point through his collar. I mean, can't really do much. I hear that, what's his name, get his removed. Do you know anything about that? How he did it? I mean,
I don't, and that's he's got his removed. Obviously, some of the bolters have gotten some of their abilities back. Apparently, maybe they're the angle to see how you can get your powers back. To be honest, I want to take this place. I want to take it back. I'm tired of being locked up.
yeah, well, I'm with you, man. I mean, whatever you say.
Could
Okay, well,
we?
I'll see if I can find the bolters and whatever you want, man.
Could
Yeah,
we
you do that.
just assume that the bolters are findable, and that, like, we do a quick cutscene where, like, Alfie helps Bryce, like, subvert the collar long enough, and then we get to see what Bryce does with Chris, with Sinkovich, with the help of the bolters. Does it jump right to that?
Sure. It is the question there.
Yeah.
Is Bryce willing to do that, to preserve himself?
Because he is in a bad spot. Being the narc.
What do you think, Bryce?
At this point, I think he's trying to get the bolters to do it for him.
That's a Weasley way out of the question. I like it.
See how that develops?
Yeah.
All right.
So under your direction, the bolters grab him. Do we see what happens to him?
Well, that's a question. Let's make it hard for Bryce. Actually, let's make this scene really hard. Let's say that you get the bolters to do what you want. They bring him out, and you're like, oh, thank God. But then they turn to you and go, kill him, and they hand you the blade. They hold him in place. A scene just outside the walls. Suddenly,
Yeah.
the table has turned.
Does Bryce go through with it or not? Dun, dun, dun.
Do you want to roll here? Is this a good place for that? For guidance for what Bryce does?
Well, it's up to you, Chris. Do you want to roll and let the dice kind of guide you on your decision here, or do you want to take your character's autonomy?
Well, I think what he wants to try first is convince the bolters to do it himself. I mean, the Sinkovich, he's a bastard. I mean, you all know it. You all know what he's done to you. Don't you want to get even with him yourselves?
So I think we are going to go to a roll here, because now we've got a conflict that has to be kind of decided. So we're going to flip back to the other page, and we've got servility, savagery, and memory. So it has been put in on the dice thing. So the question is whether the dice results are going to show that the bolters do it, or that Bryce is essentially pushed into a corner and forced to do it. Does that seem reasonable for the options there, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Sean, you set the scene. So which two dice do you want to roll?
I think memory would be an interesting one to throw in the mix, because then we can find out more about Bryce doesn't want to kill again if it comes up high.
Okay.
And savagery for sure.
Okay. So let's roll alphabetical. Let's start with the memory die. Why don't you roll that one?
Okay, I'm going to fire 2 at once here.
Okay.
2 for memory.
Okay.
3 for savagery.
Copy.
And 3 for savagery.
Paste. Okay. So it does look like savagery is the dominant element there. So we put this in the hands of the guide for this scene. Sean, you've heard the options. You see that savagery is at the top of the thing. How do you want to define that?
It's going to get bloody for sure. And it really depends on which way Bryce goes with this. Marco, the guy who took it too far, chasing down the plumber, takes a knife out of his belt and flips it around so he's holding the blade of it, and he hands it to Bryce. No, mate. You're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. You want our help? We helped. This is your job.
And so you're saying that Bryce is pushed to the corner, forced there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has to decide.
So narratively, with the die roll, with you saying that's the way the savagery works, Bryce is forced to do this, to break his oath. Does that seem reasonable in terms of how the scene's set up there, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or, like, he could try and bail on it, too, if he wants to go with his normal pattern of anyone but me. He'll just end up being the one paying for it a little bit. I think Sinkovich dies either way. It just depends on who's actually holding it.
All right. So Sinkovich is definitely off the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're saying that essentially Bryce's oath is broken. Does that seem reasonable, Chris, for you?
Yeah.
So now, with him essentially being taken off the table, we're going to do 2 things. One, I'm going to have you tell us what happens to him, and 2, I'm going to have you pick a result that comes out of that. So what do you think happens to Bryce?
Well, I think that also the main reason why he doesn't want to kill again is because when he does kill someone, his mutant power is that his shadow goes insane and kills everything around him. So
All right.
it's a bloodbath.
So it's a bloodbath among the bolters there, the ones besides Turner, as they are slaughtered in this.
Oh God!
Does Bryce die, or does he just run off into the woods to never be seen again?
He runs off.
Okay. So we'll pull him off the table. Now you have a choice here, Chris. You can move somebody on the ladder. You can change position, put them in a different spot, or you can change the drive for the game from memory to something else, or you can change one of the elements of our survey from positive to negative or negative to positive. That some situation changes for some reason.
What were those elements again?
So the elements are like the location traits of, you could change hostile biology to benign. You could change the climate from mild to harsh, like suddenly we get hit by typhoons. You could do positive and say that the system that was fragile gets stabilized, or you could say that the order that was in the camp goes to disorder, or that the poor treatment goes to good. Any of those things can get flipped.
Well, how about if Alfie, well, bolters are seriously low in numbers now. So how about if Alfie goes back inside and becomes enforcer to brick?
Does that seem reasonable to you, Sean?
Yeah, especially with this demon shadow running around the island, I think consolidating our power is a good idea.
All right.
He's probably still kind of behind the scenes within the camp. He's still kind of off the grid as far as the collars go, but yeah, he'll help out the brick.
All right. All right. So we're at the point where if one more character gets taken out, we will wrap. Just to tell you how that works for the game. So that was Sean's scene. Seem reasonable? Anything you want to do with the hangover on that? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. I played that one for a double scene anyway, so.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. It played through logically. We're going to go to William. It is your turn to ask a question.
We've dealt a lot with the mutant side. I want to get back to the authority side, and I'm interested to see how Louisa and possibly Captain Vaughn respond to the kind of shenanigans going on with Strobel. Because that could be disrespect to the warden. It definitely could be a way of showing mercy to Strobel if he is in fact implicated. There's a lot going on there.
Are you imagining them calling Strobel in, or imagining them discussing the matter?
Probably seeing how they're going to address it. Have they found out any information that positively points to him?
So that's sort of your question is,
yeah.
What happens when they look into Strobel's involvement? Does that seem like a reasonable statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens when they look into it, and when the results, whatever the results are, how do they respond to it?
Okay.
The eye blasts went off, right? And they seared up the side of Louisa's face?
Mm-hmm.
Can we set this in the infirmary just so we can draw Bernie back into things?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's on, like, the next gurney over.
Okay. So, Vaughn and Alvarez and Broderick. I'll let you guys lead since I'm just laying there, grumpy and upset, bruised ribs.
The whole side of my face is bandaged. Like my eye, there's a patch over it just to keep it covered. But Vaughn comes in and I sit up in the bed. Just status report.
Man, you look like shit.
Broderick will hasn't heard anyone ever talk to the warden like that.
Does it count if you allow yourself?
Damage report, I mean, everything's gone to shit. Danifer is gone. I mean, someone else is in power, apparently. There's several people missing. I have no idea where Sienkiewicz is. Look, frankly, I just say that we flood the entire place and electrocute the lot of them.
I feel like that might be overkill, Captain. Although at this point, I can see how you would reach a conclusion like that. Everything was stable here until Strobel showed up. This place was shit. I'm not going to get around that. But there was balance here when Dr. Brain was in charge. He kept his little peons in line, and we were productive, and nobody was getting thrown through walls and torn to pieces in the tool shed.
Yeah, well, according to what I heard, they redecorated the office with the inside of his skull, if you know what I mean.
She touches her bandage. Yes, Captain. I have a guess as to what you mean. So what are we doing about this?
You're the boss. I gave my advice. The question is, what are we going to do with Strobel? Should I interrogate him or something?
I want him off my island. One way or another. Are you capable of taking care of that?
Of course I am.
Broderick coughs. With due respect, Captain, Warden, we're on mandatory quarantine lockdown because of the mutant incident for 30 days.
What?
Absolutely, there's no outside contact. We're in quarantine procedures. We can't send Strobel off. He's here for another 30 days at least.
Of course, I knew that.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Well, if we can't send him off, then there's other ways of dealing with him.
I grab Vaughn by his uniform and pull him down close. Those aren't the correct ways at all, but I want Maximilian taken care of.
Hey, watch the suit, lady.
Does it seem like a good place to stop the scene, or shall we continue on with that?
Yeah, unless we progress it into the confrontation with Strobel. I mean, but I guess that leaves it answers a question, kind of what they're planning on doing. Yeah. Seems a good place to stop it.
Okay. So there's some ambiguous orders out there that are hanging in the atmosphere.
Yes, sorry, I got kind of vague on that one. My bad.
No, that's okay.
No.
Broderick maybe knows too much and is a little nervous about that now that he's been privy to the warden and the captain discussing murdering a civilian at the camp or some other horror. And he's also heard news that the person who attacked him is perhaps back in the base, and he's terrified of that. So let's do another scene, since I'm a guide for this one, and let us see what Captain Vaughn does with Strobel. What does Captain Vaughn do with Strobel?
What did we the workers in the camp, what did they do again?
A lot of hydroponics growing, that kind of thing. A lot of hemp, we decided. A lot of hemp goes off reservation, as it were.
Okay.
Not a lot of glaucoma here among people.
Well, Vaughn wants to arrange a meeting with Strobel somewhere in a workshop or something along the lines.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll assume that takes place hydroponics facility. We can picture that they've got all the racks of stuff set up, and the plants are not particularly productive. And it's humid. It's awful and humid in this place, and you guys will be there. So I picture everybody sweating a little, just to add to it, the damp underpits on the uniforms and things. Nice. Okay, go.
Really had to be this hot here?
Yeah, well, it's also quiet here. I wanted to talk to you. This assassination attempt on the warden. Do you know anything about that?
Well, that was horrendous. Some mutant breaking control of his collar and attacking the warden. I mean, why would I have anything to do with that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it? Tell me, Strobel, what do you do here?
I finance, part of the finance this operation. I'm on the board. I want to make sure that this place continues running and keeps these people away from the general populace. Why?
No reason. It's just curious. I mean, those collars that those were designed not to come off. And that guy got it off. Wonder how he did that. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that either, I suppose.
Well, I mean, I don't know I'm not an engineer. I don't know the mechanics. I mean, my company did manufacture them, but
Aha! I knew it.
What?
Why'd you do it? Why did you show that guy how to take it off? Come on, spill your guts.
I didn't have anything to do with that. Like I said, I just it's one of the companies I own. I want to put these mutants down. I don't want to. Obviously, don't want to work with one. I mean that. I mean, but I'm not saying that I had anything to do with this, but I mean,
I don't hear you denying it.
wouldn't you agree that Alvarez has kind of taken a soft hand to the mutant inmate problem here? I mean, a lot of people have escaped. What's the number up to? 4 or 5? And that's not the good record. I'm sure so, and that's no indication on you, Captain Vaughn. I mean, I'm sure you're doing everything you can work with, everything you can do with what materials you have. I mean, imagine what you could do if you had so much more resources.
What are you saying?
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm on the board, and I do have a heavy influence on the financial arrangements. A person in your position, you're well placed. I could see someone like you ultimately getting promoted to warden or something like that. I mean, that you seem to have maybe a sterner hand on these inmates.
Are you saying that Miss Alvarez can do her job?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to, disrespect Miss Alvarez, but I mean, but it does seem to indicate she's having a little bit of trouble controlling the inmates here. They're escaping. People's collars are being deactivated. There's these bolters on the island that have escaped imprisonment. I mean, things are kind of out of control.
Look, you're a man with a lot of, how should I put this? A lot of sway, correct? You're
You could say that, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I'll let's make a deal. I won't tell Miss Alvarez what you think of her if you go and speak with this with Williams. Tell them to stand down. You have to get this place into order again. And I think you're just the person to do it.
I don't know if I could make a direct contact with Williams, but maybe I could get in touch with his enforcer.
I'm sure he's a reasonable person.
So you want me to talk with these inmate mutants that are dangerous and hostile and
Don't worry, I'll give you a letter that you can hand over. Nothing will happen to you. I promise.
I don't know. What do I get out of this?
You don't lose your company after this place goes belly up.
Hmm. I don't know.
What do you say?
See, I'm stuck here. Okay, out of character here. I don't know. This is pushing me. It's pushing past that goal because I'm obviously stepping out of my own safety, and it's to help out this prison.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're doing risky things, so I mean that means you're not placing your safety over people's freedom.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's working with mutants, which I detest. So I don't.
Which do you detest more, mutants or inefficiencies?
Ooh.
So it seems to me what you're saying is Strobel is saying no.
I think so, but I don't know where that leaves him.
Well, actually, that leaves Captain Vaughn. When he turns you down, he has disrespected your warden, and then he says no to your generous offer. What is your reaction, Captain Vaughn?
If he says no, I think I would shoot him.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So that seems pretty clear cut. Are you?
Yeah.
You good with that, Strobel?
No, I'm good with that. That makes sense.
There is that moment when you kind of do this. No, I got to turn it down, and probably I imagine the pause where Captain Vaughn goes, okay, and then just pulls the gun and just shoots you.
Yeah. The brief moment. No, wait.
You just get the chance to put your hands up defensively, and then boom, you will drop. So that will take another person off the table. So we will kind of go to wrap there at that point with the place in chaos. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and I'm going to go in sort of the order of people who haven't spoken to choose one of their characters to say what their sort of end scene is and how things continue on. So, Sean, let's start with you. What do you imagine Spring Hill's life is after this?
after this, I think that Springheel is actually working somewhat with Captain Vaughn. Like we have a cut scene where he's dragging Max's body away and throwing it in the reclamation tank, and just kind of nodding at each other.
Okay. So the bolter turns to be an ally. Okay.
Yeah. This place is his home. He is never going back, and he enjoys a little bit of chaos here. It provides the right kind of background noise for him.
That actually tails into the scene I picture with Broderick. The day he comes back, and there's a little alert that there's a problem in one of the recycling things, and he goes down and opens it up, and he'll see a foot with a shoe that he recognizes as being Strobel's shoe. And there is this bit where he looks around and he desperately pushes it down so that no one sees it, shuts it, looks back, resets the machine, and gets the hell away and never speaks of it again.
It's the macerate button.
Yes. How about Captain Vaughn?
Well, I see him going back to Warden Alvarez and just like straightening his tie and saying everything's gonna be fine now on.
Awesome, business as usual. And what's the end game? How does the Brick handle being the mastermind in this new world order?
He, instead of trying to make plans, he rules the inmates, the iron fist, so to speak. There are no more problems. There are no more getting out of line. I don't know if he necessarily makes an agreement with Alvarez. I guess makes agreement with Alvarez. You leave me alone. I'll keep them in check.
He just wants everything to stay in order. Okay. And so we're going to cut to the Warden. You get the last word on, after all of this, how you see the camp running.
Alvarez is up in one of the guard towers, and you see, just her face in profile as she looks over, and she's smiling over her own little crappy fiefdom of guards who kowtow to her, absurd disregard for policy and for safety of everyone, and basically somebody running as a dimber damber of the inmates, like a shadow boss at taking care of them. And she just kind of crosses her eyes in the sunset, and then the camera pans around and it shows like the ruined half of her face. It's just been replaced with like ceramic bone graft.
Awesome. Good visual. Good place to end the change. I imagine that if it had been a show, we would have opened with her face as sort of the opening shot, and we would have closed with that.
Yep. Just to bookend it. Her at the beginning, smiling and looking over everything, or frowning and looking over everything.
Awesome. And that's it. We're all set there. I hope that was okay, guys.
Oh yeah. Great introduction.
I will say, Durance is really can be really tough. It's interesting. The structure's fun, and this is a weird kind of skin on it. So I do recommend playing straight Durance at some point if you haven't had a chance to do that, because there's a lot of cool stuff about the aliens and things that go on.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try now.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast and end that, and thank you guys. Do that.